G'day battlers, and today we have a very special video because today we're going to see the winning run, the championship run of MartoGalde through the Lima Special Championship that was just held this weekend in Peru. So I know that some of you are going to want to skip straight to the battles, and if you want to, the progress bar is going to have all of the timestamps down below. But to set the scene here, MartoGalde is just one of the best in the world, came third at the Honolulu World Championships, came top 6 at the Joinville, Brazil Regional Championships, and now is coming out with a big win out of Lima. So I have to give a massive thank you to Play Latam, not only for hosting this event, but also putting on this Spanish language stream, and also especially giving me permission to sort of grab all of Marto's footage and putting this video together for an English language cast over the top of it. So massive thank you to them. I'm going to have links to the original broadcasts in the description down below that you can watch. It is in Spanish language, but you can see all of the battles, not only Marto's, because there were a lot of really hype moments out of that tournament, and it's well worth the watch, especially if you speak Spanish, but also if you don't. It's definitely a fun one, so do check it out. But we have Marto here, who essentially, the context, I guess, behind his first stream match, he got a bye round 1 and then had a 2-0 victory against Dark Hunter in round 2, and so this is his winners round 3. And let's talk about his team, because one of the big things that has come out of both this tournament and the Latin American region in general is a big overhype of, not an overhype, but a big rise in Diggersby and a big fall of Clodsire. So Diggersby is on most of the sort of high performing teams in this tournament. I think it was like 6 out of the top 8 teams in this tournament ended up having Diggersby, with the Diggersby Toxapex core sort of replacing the Clodsire for Relegator combo that was sort of running rampant in both Dortmund and through Baltimore. And so Diggersby is sort of a big meta threat that you are going to have to worry about, because it does beat Clodsire, it does beat Dunsparce, and it has really good matchups across the board. So let's just talk about Marto's team. So obviously he has the Diggersby and the Clodsire, but he also is running that regular Alolan Sandslash, non-Shadow, because the regular one actually has better matchups into Clodsire and into Diggersby, which is pretty handy in this particular meta. He's also got the Dunsparce, a classic, the Azumarill, which is just running Ice Beam Play Rough, and then Cresselia sort of coming in as well. So he has an incredibly bulky team, which I really do think is somewhat the flavor of the current meta. It's bulk, it's spammability, and it's really dicey matchups in the grand scheme of things, and it's knowing how to get those win cons away from your opponent. So let's look at his opponent's team here in winners round 3. Who's got the Dunsparce, the Clodsire, Cresselia, Galarian Moltres, Ferrothorn, and Malamar. Now, this is another Pokemon that is doing really well in this particular tournament, and sort of at the moment across the board is Malamar. Malamar is really coming out in force. It's got good matchups, obviously, into anything that takes super effective damage from fighting damage, so Diggersby, so like Alolan Sandslash, like Dunsparce, that's 3 already. You've also got Toxapex, which generally Toxapex is going to win the sort of head-to-head matchup against Malamar, but Malamar can really push it, especially in the 2 shields with the super effective Psywave. Azumarill is really sort of the only hard counter, in a sense, to the Malamar, but Malamar is still doing a lot of damage with Psywave. So I think we are just sort of going to get into the battles, starting off with the very first battle in round 3, and we've got Marto on the right-hand side and his opponent here on the left. So we are starting off with the... Oh, wait, I meant to take my camera away. Let's get me out of the way. So we have the Alolan Sandslash into the Ferrothorn. Definitely a good spot for that Alolan Sandslash, so his opponent swapped straight into the Dunsparce, and Marto was able to punish it with the Diggersby swap. Now, Diggersby, one of the strongest counters to the Dunsparce. These drill runs really don't add up very much at all because of the bulk of Diggersby, and Diggersby is able to throw these Scorching Sands that not only are they just like a really decent move, but it also has that same type attack bonus from the Diggersby, and so it really just outpaces the Dunsparce, and also has that 30% chance of getting the attack debuff, which, procs here, reduces the attack of that Dunsparce, so this Diggersby is in an even stronger position than it was before. But look at the back lines here, because I really feel like Marto winning the switch advantage here is going to be quite key, because that Alolan Sandslash in the back for Marto is not going to like seeing Louise's Malamar at all, especially with that superpower potential. So end up getting another Scorching Sands here and another debuff. And yeah, clearly his opponent not happy about that one. But now at this point, there's no... Okay, actually going to save the Dunsparce, presumably going to swap out here with all of this energy in tow, charged up to 2 charge attacks, and now swapping into the Ferrothorn, with Marto swapping into the Alolan Sandslash. Now, Alolan Sandslash can definitely take this, and the regular one can take it even better. But we're back to this spot that Marto is in a very strong position here with so much energy in tow as well. It looks like he's farming up to 2 drill runs before throwing the first one here. Now, Ferrothorn can definitely take this, drill run being the more efficient move. It does a little bit more damage per energy than the Ice Punch would do, but getting almost low enough that an Ice Punch is sort of, potentially the call of the day. But Marto instead decides to protect shield the Power Whip, and then it's going to farm up a little bit more damage before throwing the charge attack, because this Ferrothorn is going to take a while to get to its next Power Whip. So Marto finally throwing the Ice Punch here. This, I think, will be enough to KO the Ferrothorn. And then it's going to be up to, I guess you could probably bring in the Dunsparce here with all of the energy, but no, actually bringing in the Malamar to eat the drill run. That makes a lot of sense, because now you have the ability to swap into the Dunsparce, knowing that this Alolan Sandslash has no energy. And there it is, the swap into the Dunsparce, and just letting it go. This drill run will definitely KO the Alolan Sandslash. And now it was really important to throw really quickly as well to make sure that Marto wasn't able to swap. But now with Diggersby coming in, you can throw another drill run. Diggersby is so bulky, it can definitely take this one, and it'll actually get up to a Fire Punch before Dunsparce can get to another move here. And I think that this is going to be just enough to KO the Dunsparce. Again, as bulky as Diggersby is, its attack stat isn't super high, but the Fire Punch is just enough to take out the Dunsparce, which means it is all up to this Malamar, but it has energy, and Marto able to get to the Scorching Sands. I actually think that Malamar might hang on here, which is kind of scary for Marto, but luckily he's got the Azumarill in the back. No matter how much energy this Malamar has, it is not going to be able to go anywhere onto this team, and so there wasn't much he could do, and Marto gets the first win. Now this is where the first twist of the tournament comes, because we aren't going to see any more battles from this particular round, because what's happened in this particular one is that clearly Marto's opponent sort of had a wrong moveset or something or other. He sort of hands him his team sheet to sort of relook at it, and then they end up going to some sort of dispute, I suppose, even though it sort of seems straight cut that he has made an error here, and then they end up playing the rest of their round off stream, where Marto is able to go 2-0. So, GG's all the same to Marto on that first, third round or second round, depending on how you want to call it. But we are now in the winners semis of Group B. So it was a 60-person tournament split into 2 groups of 30, and Marto is now in the winners semis of Group B up against memiGRR, probably memiGRR, but I like saying grr, so we're going with grr. Now, Memi's got 6 Pokemon on this side, so it's got the Malamar, the Cresselia, the Drapion. I don't know if that's Shadow Drapion or not, because it doesn't show any shadow on the graphic, but we'll find out, I suppose, if he does decide to use it. Also running the Azumarill, the Dugong, and the Goodra. Now, unfortunately, Goodra, I don't think it has much play against Marto's team. I mean, we have the Alolan Sandslash and the Azumarill, 2 super strong counters into the Goodra, and the rest of the team isn't even good for Goodra, so I'm assuming Goodra just gets left at home, and Memi essentially has a 5 Pokemon team. But Dugong actually looks like it could do quite a bit of work as long as it sort of avoids the Cresselia. Malamar also looks actually really decent. I mean, it did in the last round. Obviously, Marto was able to take that one out, but Malamar kind of has win cons against Marto's entire team. Azumarill is sort of the worst matchup for it, but even then, if you decide to invest shields, Malamar can actually do pretty decently. Because Psywave just adds up so much damage. It really is that sort of psychic type Dragon Breath type shenanigans. Drapion, Drapion's a bit of a tougher bring, just because, there is a bit of counterage with 3 of Marto's Pokemon running ground type damage, with Drill Run on both Alolan Sandslash and the Dunsparce, and then, of course, Diggersby running that Scorching Sands, so it's a pretty tough bring. So I kind of feel like Memi, in some sense, is sort of going to be leaning onto sort of that core 4 Pokemon of Malamar, Cresselia, Azumarill, and Dugong, but, Marto's definitely got some solid play here. I quite like Marto's team up against Memi's, to be honest, and I really feel like that Diggersby is going to be quite the boon, although you are going to have to deal with the fact that, there's definitely some counterage that can head Diggersby's way, so maybe you have to lean more into something like, I think, Dunsparce, but then, maybe you have to bring a Azumarill as well. But let's just jump into the battles, into the professionals, and I'll take my camera away again, and let's jump into battle number 1 of round number 4. So we have the Azu hard countered with the Toxapex, and so Memi has to swap straight away into the Malamar. Now, this is sort of a weird situation for Memi, because Azumarill swap in, obviously bad, right? Marto is in a good position, but if Marto sort of like lets this Malamar get the win here, it will be able to. Memi is going to have to burn some shields on the play roughs that might come through from Marto though. Marto actually going for the shield bait with the Ice Beam, and Memi falls for it. Memi using the Protect Shield. I guess maybe it isn't even a bait. It's just the case that the Ice Beams plus the bubbles actually do add up quite a bit of damage onto the Malamar, and you probably don't even need to go for the play rough, to be honest. But Marto just letting this foul play come through, which at this point I think means that this Malamar can almost, I think if you burn a Protect Shield here, you might even be able to Psywave all the way down, and Marto no shielding. So yeah, Marto is just going to let the Azumarill go. This Malamar, oh no, okay, actually survives, gets the last Ice Beam off, which is devastating for Memi, but gonna go all in. 2 shields to 0 shields against Marto. So Marto is now 2 shields up, brings in the Toxapex, which is a weird swap in the sense that the Psywaves are really adding up onto Toxapex, but because Marto has this shield advantage, we'll be able to burn the Protect Shield on the foul play, farm up a little bit more energy. You don't want to farm up too much because the Psywaves are adding up, but now throwing this Brine that will be enough to KO the Malamar, and now it is all going to be down to the Azu Cresselia in the back. But at this point, you sort of just have to swap into the Dunsparce at some point, but Marto actually staying in, potentially, I will see if he either goes for a Sludge to get some chip damage onto the Cresselia, or if he's just going to charge up to a move and then swap into Dunsparce. It's always dangerous sort of banking a move on a bulky Pokemon like Toxapex, because in an endgame scenario, you're unlikely to be able to swap back in and win charge attack priority. So it makes sense that Marto sort of throws the move here, gets a nice chunk of chip damage actually onto the Cresselia, but now Memi, knowing that Azumarill has no play into that backline Toxapex, brings it out into the Dunsparce, sort of putting it where it can actually be useful. And to be honest, this is actually looking really good for Memi. I mean, this Dunsparce is going to be able to put a relatively decent amount of damage onto the Azumarill, but Azumarill is going to be able to come out with the victory here, especially landing this play rough, weakening this Dunsparce down. I just think there might be too much in the tank for Marto to deal with, because that Cresselia is also in a really decent spot to sort of finish off Marto's team. So I think Memi is just going to do as much as he can with the Azumarill. And then that Cresselia is really going to be able to finish things off. Marto has the potential of getting a catch onto that tiny little bit of HP that is holding on in the back on his Azumarill, but actually swaps into the Toxapex, tries to get a little bit of damage onto the Azu, but Cresselia has energy, is able to get this Grass Knot off. And I don't know if this is quite enough. I don't know my Toxapex well enough. Toxapex hangs on, but is not able to get to the Brine, and now Azu's got nothing in the tank. Dunsparce, barely anything in the tank, and I think this one is sort of a wrap for Memi, because he's just got too much to deal with. Dunsparce has a lot of energy though, is going to get the Drill Run off before Cresselia can get to a Grass Knot, but I think that Cresselia is so bulky that it will actually be able to take this on the chin, get this, I'm going to farm up even more now. Really nice timing from Memi. Actually going for the Moonblast, guaranteeing the KO here on the Dunsparce, and now it is just going to be that Azumarill in the back that's got no health. Memi makes a swap into that Azu just to sort of finish things off, and Memi getting the first win of the round, which is definitely a scary spot for Marto to be in, but he can definitely come back from this one. So into Alolan Sandslash into Azumarill, not the cleanest matchup for the Alolan Sandslash, but kind of both players don't necessarily love this matchup, I guess. But you can see the back line, Memi is running the Malamar Cresselia, just running these 3 again, which, puts Marto in a bit of a position where he doesn't really want, I guess in some sense, there's no golden matchup. There's no goated matchup for this Alolan Sandslash to be in. So I guess it makes sense to sort of use it here. Throw these drill runs into the Azumarill. They are, they're neutral and they're adding up quite a bit, and you do outpace the Azumarill as well. So you can see that Marto is almost up to his 3rd drill run, throwing the 2nd one here, which is really going to put the pressure onto Memi, where Memi has that 3-turn bubble and Marto has the 2-turn drill run. Actually going to swap to successfully catch a move, catching a player up into Toxapex, which is a disaster for Memi. And so now Memi is going to be able to swap into that Malamar though. And now that Toxapex has been chipped down, I think that Malamar might actually win the 1-shield matchup here, because it is already quite close, even without the chip damage. But I think the chip damage is going to solidify that Malamar can actually get the easy win here, but Marto's actually just going to let him take it. He's going to let the foul play come through, recognizing that he is going to be able to get a sludge off before getting taken out, and Memi going to burn that Protect Shield on the Malamar, again, recognizing the power of the Malamar, but you know that Marto is going to bring the Azumarill out here, saving that Alolan Sandslash for the back, but, you know, as much as Memi isn't going to be doing any super effective damage onto this Azumarill, we saw how much these foul plays were adding up before, and this matchup is going to be no different. The Psywave foul play combo is really just going to put some pressure onto Marto. He's not burning any Protect Shields because it would just feel so bad to have to shield a foul play onto an Azumarill, but again, looking at the back line, Memi feels like he's in a very strong position. Cresselia is going to be so tough for Marto to get through, especially with this Azumarill here, who's going to be taking super effective damage from the Grass Knot and this Alolan Sandslash. But actually, we're going to see the swap into Cresselia and now the swap into Azumarill just to soak up this energy. Oh, actually going to go for the Protect Shield. So trying to finish off Sandslash with the Azumarill, knowing that if Memi can get his sort of full health Cresselia onto that Azumarill in the back, it's GG's. There's nothing you can do. And now forcing Marto to throw his energy, go for the Drill Run here. It means that Cresselia is going to be able to farm this Sandslash all the way down. Marto is going to get one little Ice Punch through. It's not a Drill Run, and I feel like Memi recognizes this, and so now it is just going to be a question of whether this Cresselia can throw 3 Grass Knots before Azumarill can take him down. Here's the first shield from Marto. He's got one more shield in tow, and then has to get another one to sort of KO here. And to be honest, I really do like Memi's chances because that Grass Knot paces so quickly. You can see Marto getting up to the first play rough here. This isn't going to be enough, and Memi is going to be able to get to that Grass Knot before Azumarill can get to another play rough. You can see that there's only one Psycho Cut away. This will get the last shield. The next Grass Knot will get the KO onto the Azumarill, and Memi will actually send Marto to the losers bracket out of the semi-finals here, which, you know, just means that Marto is going to have to fight for it even harder going for that championship title, and it means that there are plenty more battles to come. There's the KO, and Marto sort of taking the loss there in the winners semis. Really well played from Memi, especially with that Toxapex into Azumarill to sort of hard counter lead. I mean, that's a tough one to come back from, but I think it really speaks to the neutral power of Malamar, its ability to sort of just like somehow force that matchup with the 2 shield to 0 shield, and then just have so much bulk left in the tank sort of in the back line that Memi was sort of able to push through. So really well played, but I'm just going to say that's not the last we're going to see of memiGRR in this particular tournament. So I should mention that actually off screen, so because Marto dropped to the losers bracket, most of his losers bracket run wasn't streamed. So after sort of, he was in top 12 in that matchup against Memi. And so dropping down to the losers bracket, he was then able to beat Ice Chris 2-0, Sammy 85 2-0, and then get the win up against Axel Jean Paul 2-1. And after Bun Dun Dun, he's now locked into the top 4 of the Lima Special Championship. So losers semis, then losers finals, then grand finals. So loses semi-finals up against Javier Fee 20, the 20th version of the man, and now coming in with the Drapion, the Diggersby, the Azumarill, the Chestnut coming off of Wadage's Baltimore Championship win, and then also the Malamar and the Toxapex. So again, running that Diggersby Toxapex core that is just becoming so powerful, and I really do expect to sort of carry from the Lima Special Championship, from Joinville even, all the way into the Louisville tournament this weekend in Kentucky, but also running with that Chestnut, which it's a very polarizing Pokemon into Marto's team. Although, to be fair, I feel like it's Marto's team that is the polarizing one, but you have some very strong matchups, some very weak matchups. I mean, up against Azumarill, you're obviously in a great spot. Dunsparce, you've got a pretty good position as well. Alolan Sandslash, as much as you have superpower that paces the same as Ice Punch, but your superpower does way more damage, the problem is that if you throw it first, you're going to be debuffed. And so if Marto sort of, were to shield your first superpower, then all of a sudden you're in a bad spot. And so you kind of want to bait a Frenzy Plant so that you can throw a superpower later. But as soon as you throw a Frenzy Plant, you're going to be behind on pacing, and Alolan Sandslash will actually outpace you. So it's a tough one. I do hope that we're going to see some Chestnut here, and the Malamar, of course, is going to be quite a strong Pokemon, especially into Marto's team. I don't know if you want to run Chestnut and Malamar on the same team in this instance. I feel like there's some, they both sort of like to have a shield in tow, but maybe you can just sort of run a bulky Pokemon like Azu or Diggersby or Toxapex on the wings, and you'll actually be in a pretty decent position. So let's take me off the screen and let's jump into the losers semi-finals. Marto with the Cresselia into the Chestnut. So I don't think this is a great matchup for the Chestnut, so I wouldn't be surprised if we see a quick swap coming in here, and we do. The Malamar coming in and Marto going to answer with the Diggersby. So obviously you are going to take a lot of damage from the superpower, but Marto making a brilliant call here that it is not going to be the superpower. It is the foul play bait, and it's weird to call it a bait when it actually costs more energy than the sort of main move you want to go for. But because the superpower would debuff yourself, you don't want to throw it straight away, especially when these matchups are still 2 shields apiece. It can go for so long. You do not want to nerf yourself early, but Marto does the nerfing for him. He throws the Scorching Sands and gets the 30% attack debuff again, which is just absolutely insane for Marto. The Fire Punch coming through onto this Malamar now, and now Marto with a choice. The superpower coming through on the Diggersby. I think even after the debuff, it might be enough to KO still. So Marto decides to use his Protect Shield, quick attack down the Malamar, and now the Chestnut comes in. Now, Chestnut is obviously going to take a little bit of damage from these Fire Punches because it is going to be super effective damage, but Chestnut it actually has a little bit of bulk in the tank, and because Diggersby attack stat isn't that high, it can actually take it pretty well. You can see that it's not going to love taking a second one, so Chestnut does actually opt for the Protect Shield here. And now, with so much energy in tow, I feel like Chestnut could actually get a full farm down and just have a lot of energy to go into the back. Frenzy Plant is going to be dangerous into any Pokemon that comes in, and so Marto going to go for the Cresselia swap. He seems unhappy with this. I feel like maybe he was going for the swap, but he definitely wasn't tapping on the swap. So Cresselia going to eat the Frenzy Plant here. And then, yeah, we are just going to see him farm up some energy. Another Frenzy Plant can come through. He's actually at the back-to-back Frenzy Plant, which together will be enough to KO this Cresselia. So what is Marto going to do? Does he recognize that there could be that Diggersby in the back? Because I feel like the train is just heading straight towards the Alolan Sandslash versus Diggersby matchup, and it is going to be Fire Punch versus Ice Punch. They both instant swap into the battle of the punches, and so now they are going to have the exact same pacing, but the Fire Punch is going to be double super effective damage onto the Alolan Sandslash. The Alolan Sandslash is going to be doing single super effective damage into the Diggersby, but Diggersby's got so much more bulk. Alolan Sandslash has such a higher attack stat. I don't know how this is going to go. The Alolan Sandslash does have the advantage of winning charge attack priority as well. So when it comes to the very last move, we're either going to see some sort of switch shenanigan, or Alolan Sandslash could actually be in quite a strong position. Diggersby shielding up that Ice Punch, but before we get to the last one, I mean, Marto going to be able to shield here, but I think the switch timer is going to be up, which means we could see an attempted catch into the Chestnut. Actually, Chestnut swap in. It has the energy. It's able to get the superpower off, KO the Alolan Sandslash, and now that Cresselia just has so much to do. It has to take out this Chestnut, which it could get the farm down here, and you just need to get to the Grass Knot. If you can get to this Grass Knot, then you will be able to KO the Diggersby. The Diggersby just barely. Okay, it actually looks like there was one turn lag there. I'll be honest. I feel like he should have been able to get to that Fire Punch, but. Well, I don't. There definitely wasn't a dispute because I sort of checked that sort of beforehand in case there were any disputes. There is actually one a little bit later, I'm pretty sure. But look, there's no dispute, so we're going to be jumping into game number 2 in the losers semi-finals. And we have the Alolan Sandslash into the Chestnut off the rip. And again, this is a good situation for Marto. You just have to be a little bit wary that those superpowers can always be right around the bend. And actually going to be going straight for the superpower here, forcing Marto to burn that Protect Shield early on. And I guess at this point you can he's actually not swapping out. It looks like he might be going for a second one. So shielding up the Ice Punch, going to go for a second superpower, or potentially just bank it like he did in the last battle that worked, it didn't end up working in the end, but the Chestnut now going to get this superpower, get Marto's second and final Protect Shield off of him. And now going to swap into the Malamar, maybe trying to catch an Ice Punch there, but instead we're going to see the Azumarill come out. Now, we saw this before with the Malamar versus Azumarill, and Malamar was able to 2-shield down, but Marto has no shields left, and Javier has only one protect shield in tow. So going to be throwing just straight foul plays and side waves to try and weaken this Azu down. Marto going straight for the player off, which would do a lot of super effective damage if the no shield came up, but the shield blocks it. And so now Marto a little bit behind, in the sense that he's going to have to take even longer to get to that next charge attack. And in the meantime, this Malamar is just going to keep adding up side waves and foul plays, all the way down, and actually going to get one last foul play before that Azumarill can get to the player off. If the player off did trigger there, I think that actually will be enough to KO the Malamar, but no, we're actually going to see the double swap back into the lead matchup. The Alolan Sandslash versus Chestnut coming out. Because Marto was sitting on all of that energy from before, he is able to throw the Ice Punch here, KO the Chestnut, and now the Malamar and Diggersby, they both have play into the Alolan Sandslash. The question is, how is Javier going to deal with the energy that Alolan Sandslash is sitting on? Because there is quite a bit of it. Diggersby gets up to the Fire Punch, but as we said earlier, Alolan Sandslash is able to win charge attack priority in this particular matchup, brings the Diggersby down not even to quite half health. And now Marto will need to take this Fire Punch on the chin on the Alolan Sandslash, where it does do double super effective damage. You can see that on Marto's side, it is all coming down narrowly to that Cresselia. There is a little bit of health on this Alolan Sandslash. There is a little bit of health on his Azumarill, but I feel like we're heading towards Cresselia versus Malamar, and that is not a situation that Cresselia necessarily wants to be in with the foul play damage, although you have access to the Moonblast. So Cresselia comes in, the Malamar swaps in, we actually swap into the Azu, we get the player off, and this is going to be devastating for Javier and Marto, putting himself in an incredible position. Player off enough to carry the Malamar, and then the Diggersby going to come down and lose to one bubble. I don't know how I forgot there was a player off hanging out in the back, but Marto coming out and getting the 2-0, securing himself as a position in the losers finals, guaranteeing himself a spot in the top 3 of the tournament. Massive congratulations to Marto, and here it is. Here is the return of memiGRR. We've seen this team before, and we are gonna just jump straight into it. I should have taken note of this. I can't remember where. There was one battle that was disputed and rematched. I think it might be a later game in this particular round, but I've sort of neglected the lag match, and I've only sort of included the rematch. But game 1, we're going to see the Toxapex versus Azumarill. Again, a really hard lead from Marto, but we've seen Memi come out of this before. So we see the swap into the Malamar. Again, doing some really big Psywave, super effective damage onto that Toxapex while being able to throw these foul plays as well. Marto letting this go, deciding that I don't need this Toxapex necessarily at full health to be able to beat that Azumarill later on in the match, and wants to get a Brine off, getting a Protect Shield out of Memi, and at this point now going to swap into the Azumarill. Now that we're in a shield advantage scenario, Marto is going to be able to much easier take down this Malamar. He's only going to need to get an Ice Beam off alongside these bubbles, and I think that is going to be enough to sort of get the win here against the Malamar. Although Malamar is really on the edge of getting that foul play, so might be able to hang on at this point. Oh, just barely hanging on, has a superpower in tow as well, which Marto needs to keep in mind. The Cresselia swap, definitely a scary one for this Azumarill, but Marto's switch timer isn't quite up yet. The switch timers are not aligned, which means that Memi has the advantage in that sense. Gets the Grass Knot onto the Azumarill, still not able to swap, and so Marto going to throw the player off just to weaken down this Cresselia that little bit, get it down that little bit lower so that his Pokemon in the back will be able to deal with it a little bit better. The Alolan Sandslash being the Pokemon that is going to come out here. And again, noteworthy that Marto has the shield advantage, but the Moonblast is coming out here. He doesn't know. And massive amount of damage coming on to the Steel type Alolan Sandslash. Yeah, it's not very massive, is it? it's not very massive. I feel like Grass Knots are kind of the way to go here. But regardless, we have the Ice Punches coming on from the Alolan Sandslash, just weakening down this Cresselia that little bit. Cresselia also has a Moonblast and a Grass Knot in tow. So Memi is holding on to a lot of energy in the back. And so this game is really going to come down to an end game scenario. Who has the moves, who has the swaps, and who can land them where. Marto just going to throw bulk drill runs onto this Azumarill, trying to catch a move potentially into Toxapex, but unfortunately he succeeded earlier in the tournament, didn't succeed here. But apparently catch not needed. Memi is going to throw the player off into the Toxapex just to weaken it down, and now we'll be able to throw the Sludge Wave here. I guess in Marto's mind, I mean, if Memi were to swap into either of his backline Pokemon, he would need to throw that stocked up energy that he was sitting on, ready to that he sort of wants to use into one of the other Pokemon. But now Cresselia comes in, gets a full farm down. Marto cleverly holding onto both Protect shields here. He knows that there is so much energy sitting on Memi's side. Lets the Azumarill go. He's going, nah. Azumarill is not going to be my closing Pokemon. I'm going to put all of my chips on this Alolan Sandslash, shielding up the second Grass Knot coming through from Memi, still holding on to a Protect Shield for that superpower from the Malamar as well. And at this point, you can just Powder Snow all the way down. There's no way Cresselia can get to a move. This Chestnut cannot get to a second. The Malamar cannot get to a second move either. And just for flex, Marto actually going for the Ice Punch, and this will be enough to KO the Malamar, and Marto getting his first win back against Memi. Now, worth noting that this is also a best of 5. Both the losers finals and the grand finals will be a best of 5, first to 3, and we're actually finally seeing the Shadow, turns out, Shadow Drapion coming out against the Azumarill. Not a great matchup for Azu at all. The Poison Sting's really adding up. And Memi's actually gone for a full line swap here because we also have the Dugong coming out. But unfortunately for Memi, Dugong is going to get met by the Cresselia. Not really where Dugong wants to be because those Grass Nuts are really going to add up. But with the power of this Icy Wind debuff, all of a sudden, the matchup doesn't become quite as bad for that bulky seal. And so the Grass Knots are going to start coming through here. Marto making sure that he throws on good timing. Weakening down the Dugong down to about half health. And at this point, Memi has some choices to make. Do you want to just hold onto this energy and hope that you can swap out after this Grass Knot because the switch timer is just about up? Or do you sort of throw another Icy Wind or a Drill Run, trying to get a bit more damage? Potentially, this was even just to delay the switch timer a little bit more, because Memi, as we've seen, likes to keep energy hanging out in the back, and that seems to be what we've done here, swapping into the Drapion, which has so much energy in tow from that Azumarill matchup earlier on. The Crunch coming out here, going to KO the Cresselia all the way down, and now Marto's actually in a little bit of a tough spot. Obviously, Azumarill is taking a lot of damage from the Poison Stings, but it doesn't care too much about its charge attacks. But you know who is going to care about this charge attack? Drapion. It may have that neutral damage because of the poison typing, but Shadow Drapion takes a lot of damage from that play rough. And so now all that Memi is going to be able to do is throw straight Crunch, try and get some debuffs here. No debuff on the first one. And Azumarill even able to bubble all the way down at that Drapion, which is a bit of a calamity. But at this point, we're looking at this Malamar that is hanging out in the back for Memi. It comes in. Marto wants to get rid of this Malamar as quickly as possible because Alolan Sandslash in the back isn't going to love it when it is at the shield disadvantage. So taking the first shield off of Memi here, and then I don't see this Azumarill sort of burning a protection. Well, actually, you could try and get the player off here. I'm not sure why Marto didn't straight throw. I think he was potentially expecting the catch, but no catch from Memi, just going straight for the foul play, getting up to the player off here, and yes, shielding so that he can get the player off through, get that last shield off of Memi, and now it is all going to be on that Alolan Sandslash. Alolan Sandslash needs to do enough damage, or needs to outpace in some sense, because Malamar already has a superpower, and oh my gosh, Memi going for the foul play, which is going to cost more energy again, which means that Alolan Sandslash is actually going to be slightly ahead on pacing here, but we're not throwing it. Oh my gosh. I'm not sure. I guess he was expecting the catch. He was expecting the Chestnut to come in to try and catch the move, but unfortunately didn't make the right call, and Alolan Sandslash just going to get super powered down. That is a devastating loss for Marto. Really, really tough as well, but that's actually really a high level read, knowing where the lose con was, trying to play around it, expecting it to play it a certain way, but unfortunately for Marto, lets Memi get the first win, putting it at a 1-1 scenario, and we are starting off with a Toxapex for Marto into Memi's Malamar. Again, traditionally in the 1-1 shield scenario with default IVs, this one does go to Toxapex, assuming that Malamar throws on good timing. So, we're going to see how it plays out this time around. The foul play coming through. Marto has a tendency of letting that first move come through onto Toxapex. He doesn't like to shield Toxapex because who does? It is such a bulky Pokemon that part of the point is that it is able to act as a third shield for your team, gets the Brine off, no debuff, and should be able to get to one last charge attack, but no, unfortunately not, which means that Malamar is actually taking this one out in the 1-0 shield scenario, and now the Dunsparce is going to have to try and pull out something major to make this work for Marto. Calls the foul play bait, which is massive for Marto. Now, you can notice that Marto has that Alolan Sandslash in the back line, meaning that this superpower would be deadly. Oh my gosh, the Dunsparce going down. Oh no, Dunsparce hangs on the littlest bit of HP. And this is not looking good for Marto. I'll be honest, guys. This Alolan Sandslash has to do so much work. Burning the shield on the superpower at this point, Memi has no reason to not swap out of this matchup, go into the Dugong. Dugong is going to have that super effective drill run for the Alolan Sandslash as well. Alolan Sandslash does not have the same luxury. These drill runs are just not going to add up to the same degree onto that Dugong. And so to be able to win here, Marto is going to need to, he's calculating here, he's going to need to make a pretty big catch. He actually just lets it, he called the Icy Wind bait. Not quite the case on this one, and there's just so much health on Memi's side. I just don't know if there's any path to victory here. Needed to take out both all of this Dugong, all of the Cresselia in the back as well. I really just can't see this one going Marto's way, unfortunately. It was a series of unfortunate events, making some wrong calls, letting the Drill Run come through on Alolan Sandslash, letting the Superpower come through on the Dunsparce, and just the lead scenario going in Malamar's favor as well. Even catching the Ice Punch as well. Memi just playing all around Marto and getting the win here and pushing this to a 2-1 scenario. I shouldn't be calling it this early because there is still HP on the board, but we can all see what's happening here. Memi is taking this one out 2-1, which means that Marto is going to need to revert to get 2 wins in a row here to be able to beat Memi and get himself a position in the grand finals. So let's jump into game number 4, Alolan Sandslash versus Cresselia. A bit of a neutral matchup, especially when we are running Powder Snow Sandslash. But again, look at the back line. Marto has actually ditched the Dunsparce. He was like, no, that wasn't working for me. I can't be that weak to Superpower again. And we're now going to see the double swap for Toxapex and Dugong. Dugong is going to have the ability to throw super effective damage here with the Drill Run, but because Toxapex is so bulky, look how little that does. That's kind of wild. And because Dugong went for the Drill Run rather than the Icy Wind, this Sludge Wave is definitely going to do a decent chunk of damage, and as a result, we see the Dugong sort of burning that Protect Shield to make sure that he can sort of, I guess, I don't know, he's actually not even going to debuff. He's just going to throw another Drill Run, getting the Protect Shield out of Marto. And in the back, we have that Malamar hanging around as well, which I think is going to be very powerful. I think in this particular game, I think Switch Advantage could be quite key because that Malamar is going to be really nice into the Alolan Sandslash. And of course, the Cresselia is going to be really powerful into that Azumarill as well. So it's going to be a little bit up to what these competitors do. The Sludge Wave going to do a lot of damage to the Dugong. So again, we get both Protect Shields out from Memi. Marto holding on to 1. If he decides to shield up here, he could get himself up to the Sludge Wave, but that's about all that he would accomplish through that. And so instead, we're going to see Memi go for the Undercharge on the Icy Wind. Unfortunately, not enough Undercharge to get any energy in tow. Maybe check out my Undercharge video on the channel. But we now have Azumarill into the Dugong. And so Azumarill is going to get a chance for some level of farm here that would be really nice against a Malamar, for example, but it is going to make that Cresselia matchup pretty tough. So I think what's going to end up happening here, what seems likely, is Azumarill is going to get the KO here against Dugong. Cresselia comes in to hard counter. Marto is going to swap into that Alolan Sandslash, and Memi is going to have to swap into the Malamar. So we'll see if that pacing does help out here. I think Marto's 1 Protect Shield remaining could be absolutely massive for him here. The Icy Wind debuff is coming through, but because Marto is likely to swap out here as soon as the Cresselia comes in, it's not going to have much effect. Here comes, oh no, he's going to swap into the Malamar. He's really leaning into the potential. Oh no, okay, we see a swap into the Alolan Sandslash, wants to clear the debuff from the Azumarill, and yeah, tried to make a big catch onto Cresselia, unfortunately, but didn't end up working out. Marto staying calm and collected, and so now somehow Marto has found himself in a strong position. I really thought that maybe he was just going to lean right in, but unfortunately, I guess not knowing the back line is to actually put himself on the back foot a little bit, and Marto has a lot to play for, but oh my gosh, the attack debuff from the Moonblast, 1 in 10 chance of that happening. And so Memi just going for another one here. I mean, we saw how much incredible damage it did before, but it is really starting to add up. And the drill run, now these drill runs, you need to get them off as quickly as possible, because now that they're debuffed, it's really not doing as much for you as it was before. The Malamar coming in, the Azumarill able to come back in and get the play rough off. This has actually sort of helped Marto in a way, because now taking this Malamar right down, we are not going to be able to outpace the move, but we still get the Ice Beam off. And so now Cresselia is going to come into an energy dry Azumarill. And I guess Cresselia actually has a chance to get some energy out here, but the unfortunate thing for Memi is that Marto is still holding on to that Protect Shield. I feel like, Cresselia would need to take this Azumarill out and still have 2 moves, one to burn Marto's shield and then one to KO. The Moonblast KOing the Azumarill, but now, there's just too much on stock in the Alolan Sandslash. I think Memi knows it, and so this drill run going to connect onto the Cresselia, and it is going to tie this series up 2-2, and I can confirm that it was the original Game 5 that was originally sort of disputed. So we've taken out the lag match, and so we're just going to watch the sort of replay of game number 5. 2-2, one player progresses onto the grand finals, and there's no lead in. It just starts in the battle. So we're just going to start with the Azumarill into the Malamar, and let's get into it. So Azumarill into the Malamar. Azumarill definitely in quite a nice position here against the Malamar, but it was Memi's Malamar that has done quite well up against Marto's Azumarill many times over in this very tournament. Memi was able to get the win earlier. Can Marto push back here? The Azumarill just going to go for the Ice Beam again to get that shield off of Memi. And now it looks like we're just going to see Memi go for that same playbook, where Memi is going to go and try and get just force a lot of damage onto this Azumarill with straight Psywave foul play. Bring Azumarill down into the red. The play rough every time is going to threaten that Malamar with an instant KO, but we're going to see the Protect Shield come back up, and Marto has again put himself in a 2 shield to 0 scenario, swapping into the Alolan Sandslash, recognizing the power of these superpowers and shielding up the first one. And I expect Memi to swap out here, swapping into the Azumarill. Definitely a Pokemon that can soak up Alolan Sandslash's energy quite well. And if you look at the back line, I feel like Marto actually has quite a bit of play here. That Cresselia going to be very powerful for the rest of this game. Very strong into the Dugong, and as long as you don't get hit by a foul play, I mean, you need to get hit by a couple of foul plays from the Malamar, you are actually in a very strong position. So Marto just needs to keep the momentum up, and the game and the match could be his. So getting up to the back-to-back drill runs here. We've gone to 100 energy before catching the move onto Cresselia, a masterful catch. But does Marto recognize how strong this Cresselia could be? Coming in, being able to get some energy in. We see Memi was just waiting for that Swish Timer to go up to swap into the Malamar. Going to try and get these foul plays off as soon as possible. Memi definitely knows how strong this Cresselia is going to be into his team. And so now Marto, with no Protect Shields remaining on either side of the board, gets this Grass Knot off onto the Malamar, and it is enough to KO, which means that Cresselia is facing down 2 water types with super effective Grass Knot damage. This is dangerous. Now, Memi has potentially brought the Azumarill in here to sort of force the issue, in the sense of going like, okay, Marto doesn't know I have a Dugong in the back. Marto doesn't recognize how strong this Cresselia is going to be, and so now using up the drill run up against the Azumarill, Azumarill going to go down, and it is now up to Memi's Dugong to try and go grrr and push all the way through this battle, but it is going to be a tough fight. This drill one from Alolan Sandslash definitely going to start to weaken it. Dugong is probably going to need to get like a full farm down on this Alolan Sandslash, but I just don't even know if that's possible. I mean, another drill run coming through here, it's going to knock Dugong down to a little bit under half HP, and now we're still going. Look how little those ice shards are doing. Memi recognizes that he just needs to go for the Icy Wind here. And this is going to KO the Alolan Sandslash, but there is just so much in the back for Marto. The Cresselia comes back in. You almost only need to get to one Grass Knot here, potentially even debuffed a Grass. Oh, actually just goes for the Drill Run. But yeah, I don't think this is going to be enough. Marto has essentially secured the victory here in the losers finals. Sorry, the losers finals, game 5. Marto gets the victory and is going to progress up to the grand finals. He is now in the top 2 of the tournament. And those top 2 are Marto and Sebasmalito. Now, Sebasmalito is coming in from the winner's side of the bracket, which means that MartoGalde, to win this tournament, will need to do a bracket reset, win one best of 5 to get them both into the losers bracket, and then win another best of 5 to actually win the tournament. So there is a lot of work to do here up against a very strong opponent. And look at the team here they've got. They've got Quagsire, Drapion, Malamar, Jumpluff, Diggersby, and Toxapex. So 4 picks that we've seen again and again and again. Quagsire is a bit of a core breaker to the Diggersby Toxapex core and quite a strong Pokemon into Marto's team. I mean, you're also doing really well into that Alolan Sandslash. You've got decent matchup into the, obviously into Toxapex Diggersby, and it really feels like you're sort of pressured a little bit to bring in that Cresselia or at the very least the Azumarill to try and soak up that damage from the Quagsire. Jumpluff coming in as well is a bit of an interesting one. I feel like it's not as good into Marto's team, but it is the only source of grass damage for Sebasmalito, which, could be handy against Azumarill, but I think you're much more likely to lean into the Toxapex or the Drapion, or even the Malamar. We've seen that a million times in this tournament so far with the neutral power of Malamar. But let's just jump into the battles and see what these battlers are going to do. Shoot me off the screen, and now we have Game 1 of the grand finals. Someone is going to walk out with a championship after these matches, and we have the Azumarill into the Malamar, and straight away we see a very different playstyle. We see a swap into the Shadow Drapion. Again, the Shadow icons aren't on the side, so we don't know which Pokemon are Shadow and which ones are not, but the Shadow Drapion has such quick pacing. It is one of the fastest Pokemon in the game, only taking 4 Poison Stings to get to an Aqua Tail. That is so incredibly quick, faster than anything that Marto has on his side of the field. So his Aqua Tails are going to come super fast, burning the Protect Shield on the Scorching Sands. Marto recognizing the slow pacing and needing to try and get a win here somehow. And so now Sebasmalito is actually going to be able to get another Aqua Tail on Charge Attack priority as well. I'm not actually sure if Marto tapped the move, but at least on alignment when it came to the Scorching Sands potential, and actually was Charge Attack priority. And so now Sebasmalito has to make the call. Is Drapion that important to survive? And no, lets the Drapion go. Going to bring Malamar in to farm up some energy, and this is a much different way of playing than we saw before. Marto, unfortunately for Sebasmalito, is going to get a Scorching Sands off before Malamar was able to KO the Diggersby, bringing Malamar down to half health. This is definitely not what he wanted to see at all. And so now we see him hard tapping that Toxapex, ready to swap. Oh no, he's changed his mind. The Azumarill comes in, and so he's got so much energy on this Malamar. It's actually a little bit similar to what we saw before with a Foul Play spam of action, but instead of really leaning into the Psy Waves, we're sort of forced to lean into the Foul Play damage. So we see the swap into Toxapex. Marto is able to swap into the Alolan Sandslash again with this super effective Drill Run damage that is really going to add up onto this Toxapex. I mean, Marto is in an incredible position in this very first game of the grand finals. I mean, just sort of winning straight alignment through and through the opponent's playstyle of swapping into that Drapion. Definitely, I guess actually letting the Drapion go down, potentially not necessarily a mistake, but unfortunate for Marto's particular line, because these Drill Runs really going to add up into the Toxapex. You only need one more Drill Run really from that Alolan Sandslash. Actually even going to let this Brine come through onto the Alolan Sandslash, because you can tank it, swapping into the Malamar, swapping into the Azumarill, catching the Foul Play onto the Azu, and now Azu just needs to throw one Charge Attack. It can be an Ice Beam into this Malamar. We're actually going to farm up extra energy just for good measure, forcing Malamar to throw its energy. Okay, I mean, look, Marto could win this 4 different ways, but we are going to play it out this way, in which we just get a full bubble down. Oh, not quite, unfortunately. The super power coming through. Okay, so Marto's, go this path, I suppose, to the victory, where Marto just sort of lets his Alolan Sandslash powder snow down in the back and then just throws a drill run onto this Toxapex. And, this works just as well. I suppose Marto didn't want to let that Toxapex come in to get any farm on Marto's Azumarill. So it checks out, I suppose. And now we're going into game number 2. Marto needs to win 2 more because this is a best of 5. So same exact leads, slightly different teams. We see the Quagsire coming in on Sebasmalito's side. So we see the same swaps though. The Drapion coming in, the Diggersby coming in, the Aquatails coming out. Are these battlers going to play it any different? Or are we just going to be saying, Dormammu, I've come to bargain, because the Scorching Sands really not that quick when it comes to these Aquatails. And so charge attack priority once more. This Aquatail not enough to KO, which means that it is again going to be down to Sebasmalito. Do you burn the first shield? It's the Fire Punch bait though. Oh my gosh. And getting the shield. This is actually huge for Marto because it means that this Scorching Sands is going to be much easier to get to. Marto only needs to burn 1 Protect Shield here, and he does, and he will be able to get the Scorching Sands off. So the question becomes, does Sebasmalito want to play it out any differently? Oh no, do not tell me Marto's gone for another bait. Calling it though, he's actually let it come through this time. Really nice call, because now charge attack priority would go to the Drapion. Even though Diggersby had the Fire Punch, Marto is going like, nah, I need this Diggersby to get 1 more move off. And now, are we going to see a quick attack down? Full quick attack down from MartoGalde. And now the Malamar comes in. The Scorching Sands going to add up quite a bit of damage onto the Malamar. This is essentially how the last game played out, but it wasn't just a 1 HP survive this time. And no, Diggersby able to get a second Scorching Sands off onto the Malamar. This is a disaster for Sebasmalito. This is Diggersby doing so much work. I mean, this is essentially Marto's first Pokemon. He's got 2 full health Pokemon in the back, and even bringing out the Alolan Sandslash into the Quagsire. This is such an interesting position. Shadow Quag doing super effective damage with the mud shots that have been buffed in their damage, nerfed in their energy, and you can see that this Quagsire is actually running Aquatail Stone Edge, which means to get super effective charge attack damage, you need to go for the heavy Stone Edge. And it's almost worthwhile just going straight Aquatail, which means that Marto just had more rope to be able to keep on attacking, keep on damaging this Quagsire. Lets the Sandslash go down now, and now it is just up to the Azumarill. Azumarill needs to KO this Quagsire and the Malamar, which is on relatively low health in the back. Can he do it? Can he survive this Stone Edge? He definitely can, but can Quagsire get to another move? He can't get to the Stone Edge, which means that he needs to throw the Aquatail just to try and do some amount of damage, and then has to swap into the Malamar, but Marto throws the Ice Beam, gets this last shield, and at this point, I feel like there is just too much for this Malamar to have to do. I mean, you're going to be able to get to 1 move, but you are not going to get to a second. Throwing the Super Power here, look, I think either move here, I think Azumarill is able to survive resisted Superpower, resisted Foul Play. Azumarill is going to KO with the Ice Beam here, and then just needs to get the tiniest bit of damage onto that Quagsire, survive the mud shots, 1 bubble, and that is enough. Marto 2-0 in the grand finals first round. 1 more battle and he resets the bracket, forcing them into a second best of 5 series. And so we now have the Diggersby up against the Drapion. We've essentially just swapped straight into the backline matchup, the first swap matchup, but Sebasmalito swapping straight into the Quagsire. A disaster for Sebasmalito. The super effective Grass Knot's going to come out so fast, and Marto is in such a powerful position here because this Quagsire is just going to have nowhere to go. At this point, I think Sebasmalito needs to just let the Quagsire go, bring in the Drapion, get some farm, and try and have something ready to go into the Pokemon coming in the back. Maybe you see that Diggersby again. Maybe you are able to get a spam, a barrage of Aquatails coming through, but he's going to have to fight through this Cresselia first, and those Moonblasts are really going to add up. I know that it's neutral damage. I know that the poison typing gives you a little bit of resistance, but there is so much damage coming through, and the no shield from Sebasmalito brings his Drapion so low. The crunch going to not even KO the Cresselia at this range, although it is the Shadow Drapion, it will do a bit more damage, so it actually just barely doesn't KO and gives Drapion one extra Poison Stinger farm. And so now the Azumarill coming in to resist all the charge attack damage here. At this point, I think Sebasmalito is really going to be eyeing the Jumpluff that is brought into the back line, swapping into the Jumpluff here, because Jumpluff actually has win cons against both the Azumarill and the Diggersby, with the Energy Ball doing a lot of damage. But you're already down one shield to that Ice Beam. You're going to get to this Energy Ball, but Marto is still holding on to both shields. I feel like you need to either... Oh my gosh, Marto doesn't shield. This is big for Sebasmalito. Is there a path back to a victory here? We get the Energy Ball off. We even get the defense drop, on the Azumarill, which is massive. The Ice Beam getting shielded here. Sebasmalito, no shields left on the field, and now it is Diggersby's world, and we are just living in it. The Aerial Ace getting the Protect Shield off of Marto. Sebasmalito needs to do anything he can to try and yoink out the victory here. Fire Punch going to add in. Jumpluff is very bulky, even with that 20% defense drop due to the Shadow. It's got so much juice in the tank. I mean, this Energy Ball is going to hurt the Diggersby, but Marto is prepared to burn his last Protect Shield. And now it is just going to be that low health Drapion in the back. Oh, look, this Fire Punch is really going to add up onto the Jumpluff. It's not going to KO it quite yet, but it's going to get very low. And at this point, Jumpluff is going to be able to get an Energy Ball off. So now we're going to see how much damage does a Shadow Jumpluff Energy Ball do to a Diggersby. The answer is not enough. Diggersby will now be able to go. Oh my gosh, even gets the Fire Punch into the Drapion. He tried to get into the Drapion to try and get to a charge attack. It looked like he was disappointed by catching the Fire Punch there. So unfortunately, the Jumpluff comes back in, and Marto has successfully reset the bracket, which means that it is down to this final best of 5 series. Whoever gets the 3 wins first is going to take out the entire thing, and Marto has a brilliant call, a brilliant lead matchup with a Alolan Sandslash into Jumpluff. It is hard to get a better matchup than that, so we see a quick swap into Drapion. We're going to see the Ice Punch go through unshielded. Sebasmalito recognizing that he needs any advantage he can get. Here's the swap into Azumarill to hard punish as well. Not knowing that there is a Malamar in the back that this Azumarill would be very strong into. Gets the crunch, gets the defense debuff as well. That could be quite big for Sebasmalito, as these Poison Stings are going to do more damage. These crunches are going to do more damage, and it is all going to get up another defense debuff onto this Azumarill. Marto's luck seemingly swinging the other way. He's gotten so many debuffs throughout this tournament, but Sebasmalito getting just as lucky, firing back. Uses the Protect Shield on the Ice Beam so that he can get to this one last crunch. That because of the double defense debuff, I mean, I almost wonder if the Aqua Tail would have even been enough to KO the Azumarill, but Alolan Sandslash going to come in, get a little bit of farm, but has to pay the toll, and that toll is one Shadow Aqua Tail of damage, which definitely doesn't, you don't love to take it, but it's not the end of the world. Malamar coming in here. Malamar again, just trying to use up, trying to take down this Alolan Sandslash to protect the Jumpluff in the back. Sebasmalito is just going, okay, tell me that there is something else in the back that this Jumpluff is going to have a better time into. I mean, almost anything except the Toxapex would be really much better than the Alolan Sandslash. So Malamar going to eat that Drill Run. Ice Punch coming up really quick as well, and actually getting a shield out of Sebasmalito. Doesn't love to have to shield the low energy move after no shielding the big energy move, and so now has really good counts, knows that the Ice Punch was about to come out, so throws the foul play, gets Marto's Protect Shield as well. We are again hurtling towards this backline matchup. The Jumpluff versus Diggersby matchup it is just on the precipice. It is ready to rise, and here comes the Jumpluff, but Alolan Sandslash, because it has such quick pacing, because it would win charge attack priority, it gets one absolutely massive Ice Punch off to finish off this battle. It's on red. It's so low. And Sebasmalito just throwing the Aerial Ace here. It is going to KO that Alolan Sandslash, but Marto is sitting confident, knowing that he's going to be able to bring that Diggersby back in and just quick attack all the way down. Diggersby barely taking any damage, barely even needing to do anything, just existing, winning Marto the game there. And so now Marto only needs 2 more games to win. Azumarill vs Drapion, not as good as a matchup as we saw in that last battle, but definitely still not a terrible one. We see that Sebasmalito running that Quagsire Malamar backline as well, with the Diggersby Alolan Sandslash backline coming in from Marto's side. We're going to see the attempted, we can hope for a defense debuff from Seb's side, and we get another defense debuff. It's a 30% chance. This is insanity coming through, especially so early in the Drapion Azumarill matchups. It means that all of these Poison Stings are doing more damage. All of these crunches are doing more damage. And I swear, if we see another debuff, okay, we don't see a debuff that time, I don't think, but the Diggersby comes in, the Quagsire comes in, and all of a sudden, this isn't looking as good for Marto. The Scorching Sands going through is absolutely huge, though, because this is going to do a lot of damage to that Quagsire. The Aqua Tails are going to add up, though, so Marto, because he was able to land that Scorching Sands, is in a position where he could potentially lean into the Fire Punches, doing a little less damage, but alongside the Quick Attacks, may be able to get the KO. We see what looks like Charge Attack priority. This Aqua Tail is going to connect to the Diggersby, not going to quite KO, which means that this Scorching Sands is going to go through and Seb is going to let this one go. Quagsire going to go down. Actually, Marto went for an undercharge. Again, not quite undercharging all the way. Maybe just, resting his finger a little bit after a very long set of battles. But the Malamar is now up against this Alolan Sandslash, and the Foul Play going for the bait, but Marto calls it. Marto calls that it is not going to be the superpower. We have not seen once in this series a superpower coming out so early. Every single time that it is thrown that quickly, it has been a bait. And so we see the shield come up on the Ice Punch's side, and now another Ice Punch coming through just to weaken this Malamar down, trying to get it down into the yellow. There it goes. And in the back, Seb doesn't have much health left. He has a little bit of a Drapion. He's got this little bit of a Malamar as well. Marto is going to push him to his limits. With the Foul Play getting shielded here, Azumarill looking quite strong. I'm not sure what just happened there. The stream skipped a little bit, I guess. But we now see no shields left on Seb's side. The Malamar getting the KO. And at this point, he's going for the hard swap into Drapion. He has a Charge Attack on that Malamar. This Aqua Tail gets the shield out of Azumarill. But once this Azumarill bubbles down the Drapion, there is that Malamar Charge Attack in the back, and Diggersby doesn't have a lot of health. Malamar would win Charge Attack priority. He throws into the Diggersby and he catches the move. The Foul Play going to take out the Diggersby, and now Azumarill comfortably get able to come back in, KO this Malamar, and put Marto in a 2-0 scenario. Marto only needs to win one more game. Is this 5 games in a row? Marto is absolutely circling Sebasmalito. There is almost nothing he can do, it seems like. But one last game, the match point, and Seb has a great start here with Alolan Sandslash into the Quagsire. Again, there may be no Mud Bomb, but you can see how much the Mud Shots are adding up, and the Stone Edge would be devastating if it were to land as well. So we see the Drill Run coming in from the Alolan Sandslash, taking Quagsire down deep into the yellow and catching an Aqua Tail. I know that it is a catch, but Diggersby still not going to love these Aqua Tails at all, to say the least. And you can see that we're also holding on to that Shadow Jumpluff in the back line. So here it comes, knowing that these Fire Punches aren't going to be the end of the world for Jumpluff. It is going to be able to take a couple on the chin, because regular Jumpluff is just so bulky. I don't care about a 20% defense drop. I still have bulk, and I still have the ability to throw energy balls as well, which are going to be really devastating if any of them land onto the Diggersby. So we'll see what Seb does here. They are going straight for the energy ball. No shield from MartoGalde, which means that this energy ball connecting is going to take that Diggersby right on down. Alolan Sandslash coming out here, threatened by an energy ball. At this point, Marto is going to let it come through. I feel like this is all of a sudden not that great for Marto. He's actually down into the yellow. Quagsire comes back in. Seb is just throwing an absolute flurry of charge attacks into Marto, and I feel like he just has nowhere to go. He swaps into Azumarill here, definitely in a pretty decent spot here, but Quagsire is going to be able to do a lot of damage with this Stone Edge. It's not going to KO by any means, but it is going to bring Azumarill quite low. To like half health is what I meant. But Quagsire now going to get another Aqua Tail just to chip down the Azumarill a little bit more. And at this point, if we look at sort of what Seb is sitting on in the back, this Drapion is going to be able to come in and you could almost just Poison Sting all the way down. He has 2 Protect Shields in tow, uses the first one here on Azumarill. The switch timer isn't up yet, which means that Azu is going to throw another charge attack. It is just an Ice Beam. Seb, recognizing that it's just an Ice Beam, let this one land. And at this point, Drapion, okay, we see the Alolan Sandslash swap in, get the shield out of Seb. Drapion just needs to land a crunch onto this Sandslash and then throw another move into the... goes for the Aqua Tail bait, gets Marto's last shield. At this point, I think a swap and a catch into Jumpluff could be key for this matchup. Drapion, because of its high pacing, it already having that Aqua Tail bait to reduce its need for another Poison Sting, gets the crunch off, KOs the Sandslash. It is down to this Azumarill, as in Azumarill has no energy, which means the Poison Stings plus the Aqua Tails get Seb a win, which means that it is going 2-1. Marto still requiring one more battle to get the win here in Lima, and so we are going to go to game 4 of the grand finals. Oh no, it is a Alolan Sandslash into Jumpluff. This was one of the quickest games we saw all tournament in the last one. Let's see if Seb can do anything different. The Drapion coming into the Alolan Sandslash, no shielding. The Ice Punch, this is playing out very similarly to that last game. Drapion getting very low. The Diggersby swap in. This is not looking good for Seb from the early game, but there is lots of game to go. There is lots of HP to go. And the Aqua Tails are going to add up very spammy, as we saw before. 2 Aqua Tails already coming through, bringing Diggersby down to about half health, with Marto using 0 Protect Shield so far. The Azumarill is in the back with ability to counter that Jumpluff. The Alolan Sandslash is in the back with the ability to counter that Jumpluff. There is a lot of ability to counter that Jumpluff hanging out, and Diggersby goes down. And so you almost need to bring out the Jumpluff here, even though there is these potential Fire Punches coming out, just because you don't want that Alolan Sandslash to be the Pokemon you meet without being able to throw at least an Energy Ball here. So I think Seb is really putting a lot of his hopes and dreams to stay alive in this tournament on his Pokemon in the back. He's hoping, just hoping, that Quagsire is going to be strong into Marto's back line. He knows there is an Alolan Sandslash back there. He knows that he has an okay matchup into Sandslash. He just doesn't know that there is also an Azumarill KOing there. In comes the Quagsire, the Sandslash comes in, the Azumarill swaps in, and now Seb knows Marto's full line. This Quagsire needs to do a lot of damage here, and there are still 2 shields in play on both sides. So he goes for the Ice Beam here. Marto is just going to go for these low energy moves, get peeling shields off of Seb. Seb, he sort of looks like he knows that he might be in a bad spot here. The Stone Edge tries to go through, but Marto shields it, which is a devastating blow for Sebasmalito here. He has another one ready to go, but he wants to throw in good timing. Is going to land this Stone Edge, which is going to bring that Azumarill down again, a little bit under half health worth of damage, but brings Azumarill down to about a third. Seb is shaking his head. He thinks he's lost this one. The Ice Beam going to get a shield from the Quagsire. That Jumpluff still hanging out in the back, but so is a full health Alolan Sandslash. This Stone Edge is going to be enough to KO if Marto lets it go through, and he does, which means that Marto is putting all of his chips onto the Alolan Sandslash, but Marto still has a shield in tow. Seb does get a shield out of Marto with this last Aqua Tail. Can he do this? Can he get the KO on to the Alolan Sandslash? Can he maybe even... Can he survive this Ice Punch to get a Stone Edge off? He's sitting back. He's known he's lost. Marto going for the Ice Punch, getting the KO against... Oh my gosh, here comes Jumpluff. We're going to get one last Energy Ball. And I feel like Sandslash almost just needs to farm all the way down. And Marto is going to get the victory here. And there it is, one last Powder Snow. And MartoGalde becomes the Lima Special Championship champion, taking out Sebasmalito after such a long tournament, such a losers bracket run as well. Really just an incredible performance all the way through, and just really hard lead calls as well. I mean, essentially in the grand finals, Marto went, 6-1 up against Sebasmalito? Like, I know that 2 of those wins, I'll just bring me back here. I know that 2 of those wins were the hard Alolan Sandslash into the Jumpluff, but like still just incredibly well played on the whole, and Marto is just playing out of his mind. So incredible plays, and Sebasmalito, did everything he could as well to try and get the victory. But that's such a tough team for Marto to sort of push through, and he just kept being in the right spots all the way through. So I mean, let's sort of zoom in, I guess, on these top 4 teams. I mean, here's the bracket as well coming in from Dracoviz, but you can see in the top 4, Diggersby Toxapex core in 3 of the top 4 teams on both Sebasmalito's and Javier's team. These are just a list of people that Marto beat almost. But, we're also seeing that Shadow Drapion on 3 of the 4 teams. The Malamar on 3 of the 4 teams. It's no wonder that we saw so many Malamar battles coming in against Marto. But in the end of the day, Marto was able to get the victory. So a massive congratulations to Marto. Marto was already qualified for the World Championships because he came 3rd at the Honolulu World Championships, which sort of gave him an auto qualification. So by winning this tournament, Marto has made it so there is one less person at the World Championships, one fewer person that could be between him and that World Championship title in Anaheim 2025. But with that said, I want to give a massive thank you again to Play Latam for allowing me to use this footage and for hosting this tournament, hosting this stream as well. It's always really cool to be able to see these streamed tournaments as well, even when they're not sort of coming from those official Play Pokemon channels. So really do appreciate that we were able to see Marto's battles here, and really looking forward to the battles at this weekend in Louisville, Kentucky, and to really see if this Diggersby Toxapex core is going to rise all the way to the moon alongside all these Malamars and Shadow Drapions. But with that said, also be sure to check out Marto as well. I'll leave links to his channels as well, because he makes some incredible content. I should have mentioned it at the start of the video, but he is the greatest Pokemon Go PvP clip creator of all time. I mean, I'll link one. I'll pinned comment. Click that link first. Ignore all other links. Click the pinned comment link just to see one MartoGalde clip, because they are incredible. But with that said, thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, especially that subscribe one. I know this has been a super long video, and there are more long videos to come. Episode 2 of the Matchup Mastery series is sort of waiting the wings to get uploaded as well. And then it'll be the little Halloween Cup video as well. So, see you in the next one. And, of course, also thank you to my patrons and YouTube members for being lovely human beings as well. But with that, I will see you in the next one. Bye.